Welcome to the Footy Museum and the Footy Museum podcast. I am Justin Whitty. My co-director, Maria Van Dyken Lee, is off in Scandinavia viewing the Northern Lights with her husband, Jeremy, which leaves me back here in dreary Chicago and really in a dreary world. This has been a kind of awful week in world news with the events in Israel and Gaza and ongoing conflicts across the world. It's a hard time to think about sport, but it's important to remember that these moments of coming together can build community and connections to counter a lot of the forces currently at play around the world and coming into our lives every day that make these days seem extra dark. One of those communities we're going to talk about today. I have a special guest, Sheryl Shectman, who is a member of the Terminus Legion supporter group for Atlanta United. Sheryl has been a supporter of the club since their inception, their first season in 2017. It's hard to believe that Atlanta United was named an expansion team almost 10 years ago. It all seems so fresh, kind of the exciting reveal of their amazing logo, the development of their team with a lot of star-studded or a lot of promising South American players drawn, of course, to Atlanta to play with the famous Tata Martino, who had agreed to coach this expansion side, all eventually in a new stadium, Mercedes-Benz, which is a crown jewel in the center of Atlanta, a stadium that those supporters against all odds would fill and make really one of the fortresses of American football. Sheryl's going to talk to us about her time with the Legion, her work on specific tifos, some of the interesting stories and what goes into creating that work, and really her experience of coming in as not really a soccer fan at all, but being drawn in to a really lead supporter for Atlanta United. So with that, I'm going to jump to my interview with Sheryl Shectman. All right, Sheryl, thanks so much for talking to me today. I know this was kind of a long time in the works, a lot of emails, but I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I'm really fascinated by Atlanta United in general because I've been a fan of MLS for a long time. And I distinctly remember almost a decade ago now where they announced that this expansion club was coming to Atlanta. And there was a lot of skepticism within the U.S. soccer community. It was kind of the first major non-Florida based Southern team. People weren't really aware of what the culture was soccer-wise in Atlanta. And I think that on top of that, the idea that they were going to play in the beautiful but giant Mercedes-Benz stadium that was being built, people also wondered, like, is this going to be kind of an empty, old school kind of thing where we have these large football stadiums that are mostly empty? A lot of us early MLS fans remember those days. A lot of us Chicago Fire fans still experience those days.
They experience them for sure.
But Atlanta came in and proved everybody wrong. 2017, 2018, 2019, those are some of the most exciting seasons, and it really helped push the league. And seeing players like Josef Martinez, Miggy Almiron, Saint Miggy, one of my favorite players of all time, see a coach at the level of Tata Martino come into the league. Yeah. But more importantly, everyone was wrong about the supporters. I mean, the speed of which the city and the fans coalesced around Atlanta United and the game day experience they created was phenomenal. So I know that you have been a fan since the start, and you are part of Terminus Legion, which started in 2014, but you didn't actually join until 2018. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what is your story? How did you get involved?
So I grew up, my story is actually interesting from all of soccer. I grew up in the Atlanta area. I've been here and my parents moved here since I was one. I didn't grow up with soccer. I didn't play soccer. I didn't know anything about soccer. I knew what it was. It was a ball. It was black and white and speckled, and you kick it into a goal, right? That's all I really knew. So when in 2014, when they announced the team, I didn't really think anything of it. I probably didn't even know at first until um, it was join as a founding member. I think it was $50 and you're in, right?
Oh,
And that
wow.
$50 goes towards your season tickets. And we said, what the heck, right? Let's do it. So um, we, between the two of us, we did one founding member seat. And then we went in for that first year. There were a group of 6 of our friends. And we had 4 tickets between the 6 of us because, right, we had no idea. What if it was terrible? We didn't necessarily want to go to every game. We didn't know. And I really knew nothing about soccer. I think there's a photo of me at the Gold Cup at the Georgia Dome.
Okay.
U.S. men's team is probably like one of my first soccer matches ever. And one of my friends took a picture. I'm just sitting on my phone with this look like I'm not amused. Like, it's probably the most boring thing ever, which now that I look back, I can't believe that that's what was going on. But I knew
Well, to be
nothing.
fair, most people watching the U.S. men do have that look. So
It's true. So I didn't know anything. We show up. I think we bought our DH Gate jerseys because I wasn't shelling out $150 for a real jersey. So we show up at the first game in our obviously fake jerseys. Um, it was electric. We were at
yeah,
Bobby Dodd, home of Georgia Tech. It's a little bit smaller. It's outdoors, and it was just electric is really the only thing to say. The entire stadium stood for 90 minutes.
yeah,
It was sold out, and I think from that moment I was obsessed. Um, I I learned every single player that we had. It took a while because at first I didn't know anything, but all of the players became my children. They were my
yeah.
boys. Like, I knew where they were from. I knew their age. I knew where they went to school. I knew their height. And I knew everything. Not quite stalker level, but right. I wanted to know everything about this team
Yeah.
because it was fun. Um, Although before that, I guess backtrack, we had a founding member event when they revealed our gorgeous logo.
Oh,
Um,
phenomenal,
it
phenomenal
was
logo.
it
Yeah.
was for founding members only, and we went to this. It was at a nightclub, but they announced the logo and what it meant, and then um, we did our first tifo. I don't know who actually made it, but we were all under it, and the tifo went over us. And I will admit now that I did have to go and look what a tifo was because I had no idea.
Well, how would you know? How would you
Why
know?
would I know, right?
Yeah.
Um, I had absolutely no idea what it was, but it was just something about whatever they did. Marketing did it right. I don't know what they did, but everybody
hmm
just got sucked in. And then just the electricity from being at those matches was just amazing. And so before we moved from Bobby Dodd in 2017, we sold our tickets, or maybe one of the games we didn't have, we bought tickets in the supporter section. And so
Yeah.
we marched. I guess it was my first march. We marched from Bobby Dodd and we went, from the varsity parking lot in Atlanta, which is where the supporters were tailgating back in the day.
Okay.
And we sat in the supporter section. That was my first supporter section experience, and it was amazing. It was the
Well,
last Bobby Dodd game. It was just ridiculous because I'd
and
never
did
done
they
it.
have a capo stand set up at Bobby Dodd too? Like the
It
full,
was little. It was just like I feel like
yeah.
it was one of those like marching band, like a drum major stand. It was something small. And it was a much smaller section, but it still was, I was like, there's trumpets behind me. There's a trombone behind me, and I went from that to having, not knowing anything to I'm on the board for Terminus Legion. I was vice president during during COVID in
Yeah.
2020. I've been TIFO lead for 4 years. I've
Amazing.
played the trumpet in the supporter section. So I went from kind of nothing to all of that. It wasn't until 2018 that we finally joined Terminus Legion. Because
Okay.
I was like, how do we get involved? I love this. This is
Yeah.
amazing. And so we went, I think every time we had gone to the supporters tailgates, we had migrated towards the Terminus Legion tent. So at that point, there were 4 official groups. And
Right.
for whatever reason, we just felt connected when we stopped by Terminus Legion, and we just felt comfortable. So we went to the first watch party in 2018, and we joined. It was Houston. We lost, I think, terribly, but we joined that day, and I really never looked back. I think the next week I was working on a tifo for a home opener for 2018.
That's
Um,
amazing.
it is. And what Terminus Legion did for me, we had just, my mother-in-law passed in January of 2018, and we joined Terminus Legion in March, and we could be ourselves because nobody
Yeah.
knew our backstory. Um, Not to say that our other friends, we couldn't be ourselves around them, but everybody wanted to know how we were doing and this and that.
Hmm.
And I feel like Terminus Legion really helped me. I got to be me because nobody
Yeah.
knew. And that, I think it's a lot of why I feel like I owe TL so much because they helped us in it's a really tough time, but we got through it with soccer and TL specifically.
That's such an amazing uh, story, and really, I think gets to the heart of what people discover in supporting a soccer club or football club, depends on what you say, is finding a community that's totally engaged where you're simultaneously supported, but allowed to just focus on the club if you want to. Like, you have that support around you, but you don't have to dwell in your everyday, whatever that moment is. Not that you're excluded from it. And I think it's clearly unique in sport. And when I think about to how I was introducing you, saying there was a lot of skepticism about Atlanta, what do you think it is about that community that took so quickly to Atlanta United that really surprised everyone, to be honest?
I think we had, obviously not me because I can't even kick a soccer ball still. Like, I don't even know where it's going to go. But there was a community here that people were huge Silverbacks fans.
Okay.
We had the Silverbacks. So many people grew up playing soccer and we didn't have it. So I think that whole community was waiting for something to show up here. So I feel like
Hmm.
I'm probably in the minority that I didn't play soccer at all.
Right.
Definitely didn't watch the Silverbacks, right? I think we had that community, and then or Atlanta is a lot of transplants. They are people from all over,
Hmm.
right? So they played soccer somewhere else. They've come down here, and maybe they've been down here long enough that there was no soccer team where they came from,
Hmm.
right? When they came here, but I think everyone was just waiting for something. I think we had that soccer community that needed an outlet.
Um, well, it's been amazing, and it doesn't hurt that the team found success so early. I'm wondering, now that you're in the TL, you're working on the tifos, you're in the supporter center every day. What was it like to watch that first iteration of Atlanta? Even when they were at Bobby Dodd, they were pretty good, but then you move into the Bens and
Oh, good.
they are world class. I mean, that was the team, and you're winning cups. You're taking on Mexican giants. It's like,
Yeah,
what is that experience? Please
it's
tell
like
me. I'm a Chicago Fire fan. I need to know.
it's hard to explain because I mean, it just that first year. So when we got Tata Martino, we got
Hmm.
players who signed to play for Tata, not to play for
Yeah.
Atlanta. They signed to play for him. So he built his team, and we knew we only had him for 2 years. Once Miggy got started, oh, I miss my Miggy. But once he
Yeah.
got started, right, we knew he was not here for very long. Um, Tito Viaba, he was here to play for
Hmm.
Tata. Like all of that whole crew for those first 2 years, they weren't here for Atlanta United. They were here for Tata, but they became Atlanta United. They became a team. They became this.
Yeah.
We loved seeing all of the social media posts. They named themselves La Banda, and even outside of soccer, they were all together, hanging out, doing stuff. Just
Yeah.
all of Joseph and Miggy became just buddies, and just the Hispanic group of players. They just got really close and they were hanging
Hmm.
out all the time everywhere. And I think Michael Parkhurst, right? He was our first captain,
Right.
um, and he was great for having a first captain of a team. He was actually in Atlanta last weekend, and we couldn't make the game. He hit the golden spike. I was very sad to have missed him back in Atlanta because I think he's not here anymore. But
Yeah.
just they did it right. We had Tata, we had the marketing, we had Uncle Arthur who had the money to throw in.
Right.
They made us want to be a part of it. I mean, I know Joseph Martinez was the top selling jersey for a while in the MLS,
Yeah.
at least that first year or two. And then just have you been to the Benz?
I have not been, no. It
So
looks
it's just
phenomenal. Yeah.
something, it's like nothing else. When it's full, when we have 70,000 fans in
Yeah.
that stadium, it's amazing. It's loud and the players feed off of it. So, home field advantage is one thing, but home field advantage in Atlanta, being there, they feed off of our energy.
Hmm.
And it's
So
hard to describe the experience.
we were talking earlier this year with supporters from St. Louis who in a lot of ways have learned from Atlanta and other teams like LA that have come in prior to them about how to successfully build this culture. St. Louis, similar to Atlanta, where there was a lot of history of soccer. Um, and I was asking them, and I'll ask you as well, that feeling of when you're in the supporter section and either you do a display or you start a chant and it's recognized or taken up by 70,000 people. In that moment, you are in the center stage the way the top player on the field is. And what
Yeah.
does that feel like? I mean, what does that feel like? I mean, you just chose, there was no barrier to support this team. And you can walk in, find this community, and all of a sudden be directing that much energy, that many voices. What does that feel like?
So our seats are not in the supporter section, so we only do
Okay.
it a couple times a year. But just hearing the Atlanta, one of our cheers that just say, the supporters say Atlanta, the rest of the stadium says United, and
Yeah.
it's just loud because everybody is doing it.
Hmm.
There's just something else. The acoustics are not the best in the stadium, so sometimes you can't hear, no matter how loud the supporters are. Sometimes you can't hear, even when we open it to 70. And if the roof's open, I feel like we lose a little bit
Yeah.
of the noise, but it's still loud. But
Hmm.
being in the section with the chants being on the Atlanta United, right? You're just leading everybody, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
It is amazing.
Feeling.
So you weren't a soccer player, didn't know much about it. You joined Terminus Legion, and all of a sudden you are creating tifos, which you didn't even know what they were, right?
I didn't know what they were. So yeah, so in 2019, so I had been a member for a year, and they were looking for tifo lead. So I was a co-tifo lead in 2019, and that
Mhm.
um, I built my fair share of tifos just in 2018 because I just joined. So I probably went to every tifo build that any of the groups did, but I
Yeah.
want to say I didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't know all the logistics around it whatsoever. I've learned a lot in my
Hmm.
years. That first year after the cup, I thought it was pretty awesome, but we attempted to turn the page from chapter 2 where we won the cup to chapter 3 where we were now, and we actually had the tifo and it turned. So
That's
the
amazing.
page turned the night before. It worked great. The day of, there was a really large knot in the rigging and
Oh
it didn't
no.
quite turn the day of, which is very bummer, like very upsetting. But like we had a moving tifo. That was the first tifo I did. One of the
Hmm.
other things that we're challenged with is that the supporter section, right behind the supporter section, is this giant window. So
Right.
any tifo that goes up, we have this backlit everything. So in 2019, it
You
was
can
a
see
DC.
it here. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the backlit there. So behind that, we've got a giant, thick black, like 6 mil painter's tarp under that to try to keep the glare on it. So that's actually in the front, using the field goal net. But in 2019, we had rigging that was behind the supporter section, and it
Okay.
went up the back. It was about 100 feet long and about 50 feet tall. Whereas
Hmm.
this tifo is, I think, 40 feet wide by 80 feet tall. So
Okay.
imagine it like flipped, but imagine the back lighting would be completely above, right? It would be completely with the back lit.
Right,
And so,
right by the window, so just completely
right.
transparent if
So
you
I
didn't
had
back
one
in.
that we worked hard on. We didn't have really a designer at that point, so we got someone to help us, and we tried to do
Hmm.
this outline thing. It was on black fabric, and it was just pretty much black fabric with just some outlines. It was like red, yellow, and white. It wasn't a lot of colors, but we had a white tarp that year.
Mm-hmm.
It went up the night before, and the team said that does not look good. It cannot go up because of the lighting.
Oh,
Because we're never when the tifo goes up, it's never dark.
right.
So I've had a tifo, right? All that work, and the tifo didn't even get used, and it was specific to this day. I still cry over it because it was specific to a team, and that was 2019. So we never had it in 2020 because of COVID.
Right.
2021, we were just getting back in, and
Barely
at that
full. Yeah.
point, it was team specific and player specific. So all of the players that it mattered, I don't think any of the players were on Atlanta United or DC at that point. So
Yeah.
that poor tifo, yeah,
Lost to time. Yeah.
yep.
You mentioned that the club didn't approve that one, so it didn't get used. What is your process for design, creation, and then what approval process does it have to go through? Like, is Atlanta United supportive, or is it kind of like you just waiting for thumbs up or thumbs down without really any prior
I think
input?
we know what the club wants, right? They obviously, we have to stay within the MLS code of conduct, right? So that's first and foremost.
Right. Has
Anything
to
that's
promote Apple TV. Yeah, I get
we're a Google house. We're a Google house. This is very hard to have on my arm, but we obviously, right, anything political, if anything is up there that's political,
Hmm.
it's kind of iffy on what they're going to do with it. Terminus Legion, just as a whole, we try to avoid any of that anyway. So most of our
Right.
stuff is hopefully going to get approved. We send it into the FO, and then I'm not sure exactly who approves it at that point, but I know we
Okay.
had one. I didn't give you pictures of it, but it was one we did for Charlotte last year, and it was Uncle Arthur. It was our first Charlotte's first match in Atlanta, and when their owner had said screw that city, Mint City Collective made shirts that said screw that city with the upside down A. So we did our tifo with Uncle Arthur in a suit like this, and his shirt said we are that city, and the A in that was like our A with our golden spike. But we
Hmm.
had some phrasing on there that it wasn't phrasing. It was kind of an acronym that's a supporters thing, but it was
Okay.
on the shirt. And some bad words if you
Yeah.
say the whole thing out. And we were told that can be on the tifo, but not on his shirt because he's the owner. So
Oh
that one
boy.
had to go to Arthur to get approved because he was on it.
Uh,
So right, that's it. So we had to change around just the language. I mean, it was just like 4 letters, but we had to change what those were on that
right.
because it was him, I think. But otherwise, I really haven't. Sometimes they're like, "What does this mean?" Like, "Can you explain this?" Because they really have no clue what
Yeah.
it is. But
So,
as long as it's within the
Cheryl,
code of conduct, we're usually fine.
Cheryl, let's look at a few of these, and if you want to explain, I'm sorry if these are out of chronological order.
But
Uh,
that is okay.
so
So
what are we looking at here?
this is 2021 Hispanic Heritage Month.
Okay.
And so we had, how many players is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what, 11?
That's 10,
10,
I
12,
think. 10, yeah.
whatever it is. Those are our Hispanic players. And I took a jersey and then we put their flag in it. And then I got we put their number on it. So
Okay.
the 7 Venezuela is, Joseph Martinez. The 10 at the top
Right.
is Marcelino Moreno. We have Barco. We didn't have Tiago Amada yet, so he's not on this. But that's all of our Hispanic players. And it's just, we're all united for a single passion.
Yeah.
And then we've got the 4 countries that are represented in the not so straight flags on the side. And I think I'm underneath. I was in the sports section for this one. I think I'm underneath the Argentina flag.
Okay.
Probably in the front or first or second row in that one. This one's actually this one was this one and then another one. I hope you'll show it. But that year we had some issues with space.
Okay.
Finding space to use to build our tifo. So if this one is backed by a thick plastic backing, but if you were to pull that backing up, you would see another tifo
Oh
right.
my gosh, amazing.
So we started to do cut and paste, and we started to recycle.
Okay.
This tifo was made in my house. So
Wow.
the
And how
glow,
big is this house? How big is your house?
it's
Is
pretty big. It's 5,000
okay.
square feet, but
But
the
for a
wall
banner
in
that huge, it's
well,
still
right. So for a wall in my living room, we were able to put up a projector, and everything got traced in the living room. So all of this is actually cut and paste.
okay.
So all of the fabric is all the jerseys are done with colored fabric.
Okay.
And then we trace the colored fabric, and it's just double-sided carpet taped together. So those Argentina
Oh,
jerseys, it's a piece of blue, a piece of white, a piece of blue. And then what I did for the, I guess, Argentina and Mexico and Paraguay, I actually ordered little banners at Walgreens for the crests and cut those out because someone
oh,
suggested to like buy flags. I was like, I'm not cutting up someone else's flag and gluing it on
right.
there,
It's kind
and
of
I
wrong
want all
feeling.
the detail in their flag. So we ordered those. So those were printed, but the stars on the Venezuela jerseys, I used my Cricut. The numbers, I used my Cricut. So it was gold fabric, and then it's all with this heavy duty spray and double sided carpet tape. Every single thing is cut and paste. The letters were cut out on white fabric and then painted white to give it oomph. But I've got pictures of those letters hanging on clotheslines in my driveway and in my
Oh, it's
garage.
amazing. And I think we're going to try to share some of these process photos of yours through our website so people get
Yeah,
a
but
sense of that.
the earth was in my that earth was we did paint the soccer ball and the Latin America that was painted in my basement.
Well, it's a great piece, and I think especially for Atlanta with really paving the way, especially bringing in top level South American talent.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it is really known as an international club for sure. And then what are we looking at here?
So this is actually this. So this is the same day that other tifo never flew. So at least I
Okay.
got one tifo out of it. So um, we were asked that year to do a tifo for our unified team.
Okay.
This is the first ever unified tifo, and I wasn't actually designing tifos yet. I was leading
Hmm.
them, but I didn't do any designing. I designed this one while simple. It was still really, really cool to design this
Hmm.
tifo and be a part of it. So this was 2019, I think July, but this is after the match. You see on the field all the unified players. You have unified players, you have their coaches. There's probably the Atlanta United probably Brad Guzan might be there. Some of the Atlanta United players that were like, unified liaisons, but the
Hmm.
supporters are down there too. I mean, I'm short, so like I'm hiding back there, but to have this picture after the unified match and have this tifo, they loved it. I've actually been able to do two tifos for the unified team, and it's so special for them to have
Hmm.
this, to be able to like. It was a very special moment to have been
And
able to
could you
design.
explain to anyone listening or watching what Unified is?
Yeah, it's really it's just the Special Olympics. So
Hmm.
it's with the Special Olympics. So that is the Special Olympics
Logo,
logo,
yeah.
sort of kind of in there.
Hmm.
Um, and it's you've got players and then partners.
Right.
And they're all young kids, so you can age out of it. We've got some people that have finally aged out, which is very sad because we love watching them play. But members of the Atlanta United actually come and help them. They're not coaches, but I think they give them guidance and mentorship. Um, and the supporters are invited to, we do a unified signing day every year.
Hmm.
And I've been to, I think, 3 of those to watch them sign that contract, get their jersey.
It's
And
amazing.
they have the supporters in the back doing the chants, and we come up with specific chants for the specific players. It's really neat to be a part of that. So to be able to tie the tifo in and make them feel special it was just great.
So when you are when you start this group because you're enjoying the atmosphere and the team, unbeknownst to you, you're really becoming a community organization, right? And I noticed that there's a number of things that Terminus Legion does and
Mhm.
has done in the community. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Well, we have three pillars for Terminus
Hmm.
Legion. It's support, service, and community. So support is game day support, right? We are
Hmm.
supporting the team. That's really our number one. That's why we're here. That's why we all
Yeah,
came together.
yeah.
Um, Service and community sort of go together, but we donate funds from every tailgate to a charitable organization. It just depends on what month it is. So we've donated to I'm trying to think all kinds of different organizations, really,
Hmm.
that are. I don't know if the board and leadership have chosen it. Sometimes we offer it up to our members. Sometimes we'll put a poll out. Who do you want this to go to? But everything from pets to Black Lives Matter
Hmm.
organizations. I assume we've done some LG, oh my goodness. We've
Yeah,
done LGBTQ plus.
yeah.
We've done all kinds of organizations, Wounded Warriors, that kind of thing. So we donate money, and then we also do volunteer events. We try to do one once a month. I think we planted trees or something with trees Atlanta. We didn't actually plant, but we were weeding the area so that the good plants could grow, get the
Could go.
weeds out. Yeah, so we've
That's
done a
great.
lot of different things. We've cleaned up the river area. We've done packed food for the homeless. We've
Hmm.
done some drives for school supplies. There's a diaper bank that we've collected diapers for. So we've done a lot of that thing. So that's a big part of Terminus Legion is that community and that support and just supporting our community,
Yeah,
really our community.
supporting the team and also the
Yeah.
city it's in. All right. When
So
you're offered Atlanta 90, you go for
you
it.
go
What's the
for it.
story
So
behind that?
this tifo, this one is special. So this is August of 2021.
Hmm.
And maybe about 2 weeks before we were supposed to start working on the tifo, we found out that we did not have a space to do it.
Okay.
And this is against the Nashville game. And I had this amazing design that it was actually going to be my first tifo that I had designed myself going up. And it was
Okay.
just this amazing design, tons of paint, tons of detail. When you don't have a space, you can't do that.
Right.
So within a week, we came up with this idea. Someone said, "Why don't we do cut and paste?" And I'm
Okay.
like, "Well, I have a house. I have a driveway and a basement and a living room and a dining. We can use every room in my house to do this." So we start working. This is actually the first match that Gonzo Pineda was in Atlanta
Okay.
for. So
Okay.
we thought it'd be fun to welcome him with a tifo. And so
Yeah.
um, what we did, so we bought the black fabric, we put it together, and then again, all of those letters we traced, um, we traced them, and then we cut them out, painted them white.
Hmm.
Red, so that tifo that never flew, we had a card stunt behind it that had been almost all the way set up
Okay.
that we had to take down. So that red is those little plastic sheets from a card stunt cut in half, and we just sprayed. I think I bought every adhesive at Home Depot and Michaels, and I had this thing with writing which adhesive it was, and I was pulling and seeing how good everything was. So we found this awesome spray adhesive. So again, this one is all spray adhesive, and that gold roll of foil. I mean, it's all
Oh, I
that's the
love the
code
gold. It's
from.
such a
I
yeah.
think when he was in Seattle, there was a picture of him walking by like this, and so I was able to get a really good silhouette of it. But this was that first cut and paste. So what we did for that Hispanic Heritage Month is we just flipped this one over and did
Okay.
Hispanic ones on the back. Apparently, it was pretty heavy to raise up that way because there were two tifos on it. But this was the first of our cut and paste tifos built at my house.
And then what happens to them after the game, after the match? Are they recycled into future works, or are they
They're all
stored
in my
anywhere?
in a big pile. And I will say, so because we had to learn how to cut and paste, we've also gotten into we're very green with our tifos.
Okay.
So when we were doing the one with Uncle Arthur, he had a black suit on, and I ran out of black fabric. So if you see all this space that's black with nothing on it, it's been cut out and put onto Uncle Arthur's suit, or when we couldn't find a grommet machine and I needed to make a tifo a little bit bigger, guess what?
Hmm.
I used the top of that to grommet and attach it to another tifo so it would go up. So it's kind of been piecemealed. It's in my garage somewhere, but it's cut. It's not in good shape anymore. Um, it's all, it's cut, and then all the Hispanic heritage stuff is pulled off of it. So all the jerseys came off of it. And some people took jerseys. I actually I remade one of those for Thiago Almada when he came back from the World Cup. We met him at the
Yeah.
airport. So he signed the 16 because
Oh,
it was
it's amazing.
number there, right? So like a lot of it, we just kind of pull off and use again.
So why didn't he bring Messi to your team then?
I don't know.
But you also have a lot of you've created like a lot of MLS teams, a great pipeline into your own.
Yeah,
Into your
we
own.
definitely. Yeah, Messi and Joseph and Tata Martino being on. Yeah, it hurts a little bit.
That's okay. They're out of the playoffs and you're not, so it's
It's
fine.
true.
So we're looking at a homegrown banner
Yes.
in this one.
We like to celebrate our players, right? So we did the Hispanic Heritage one. This one was actually against Orlando, and instead of
You guys always have beef with Orlando. Is that still the
we do,
case?
but I
Or is that
think
just a Joseph thing?
oh no, we have beef with Orlando, but I think ignoring Orlando and the tifo, I think was kind of I feel
The
like it's a
biggest.
big statement on its own, right? We didn't even mention that they existed in this one. So this one, what we did, we actually, for this blue, so the white that you see up there, that white, we double layered a tifo beforehand that was white. We wanted to make sure you couldn't see through it. So we had one tifo and then a whole layer of white behind it.
Okay.
This piece of white is that back layer that already had gone up for a previous tifo that year. So it's
Okay.
now being used a second time. And then what I discovered, the thing behind it is it's a greenhouse tarp. It is to black out a greenhouse. It's white on one side and black on the other side. So once I discovered this and I ordered it,
Oh.
you can see a little bit on the edges of this one, but so this white had already flown once.
Okay.
I had a picture. The Atlanta skyline there is from a picture I took. So I thought it was really cool to use a photo I took, and I traced it out in Illustrator to get the skyline in so you could see it. But we laid it out in one of our president's backyard, and we had taped the skyline down, but we just took a sprayer and we painted, instead of rolling it, we sprayed it. We sprayed it outdoors, and then we jumped in her pool and had a pool party where we waited it
That's
for
awesome.
and then everything else, the tree is brown fabric. And we actually pulled it off of another tifo that we had used. I'm sitting in my office and I ripped up the tifo to get enough brown, and then we taped it together. You can't tell that we call them Franken tifos. You can't tell that brown is probably multiple pieces and it was already on a different
Right.
tifo. The green was fabric. We had just enough fabric for all those leaves to trace all the green out. And then those are just peaches, for each of our homegrown players, and all of those names. I think I needed to do the names a little bit bigger, but the names were done on my Cricut.
Oh.
So threw black fabric in the Cricut and poof.
You guys should be sponsored by Cricut. That's like your fourth Cricut name drop.
But, right. So it was just, we found stuff, but it was all traced and done at my house. And then this one, we actually were able to find someone. We put this together in a gym. So we lay it all out and then we place it together. The Hispanic Heritage one was put together. One of our, he was not vice president at the time, but one of our members works at an elementary school as a gym coach. And he was able to get us the gym. We used his gym a couple of times to put it together. We pretty much show up with a big piece of fabric and then we lay everything out and then just tape and spray adhesive away.
Wow.
For assembly day, because you need a space to do it. So that first one that was the welcome coach, we put that together in my driveway. The letters were put on the driveway, and I think the FedEx truck is coming down because I had ordered some gold foil that I didn't think would happen, and he was trying to turn around, and we're like pulling everything up. It was a mess. We're in the driveway trying to put this tifo together, and then the rain's coming down, it starts raining, and we all like glue on what you can and then run in and we'll. It was interesting, but yeah.
Well, I hate to say I'm almost running out of time here. The time flies talking about this stuff,
I
and
can
there's a
talk about
lot
it
we
all.
didn't get to. I do want to mention it's also exciting change that U.S. soccer is moving to Atlanta. Exciting for you. It's leaving Chicago, going to
Sorry.
Atlanta. Um, but it's amazing to see how it's really become this hub for soccer. And I think that you and the supporters for Atlanta United are so much responsible for it. And so, just as a fan, I want to say thank you for that. Um, and I can't wait to the day when the Fire will regularly beat you again, ever. I don't think we ever have. I don't know, regularly.
I
Um,
don't know, not regularly for sure.
but I, it's really amazing, Cheryl, and I thank you so much for spending some time and talking to us.
Absolutely.
And I would encourage. I'm going to try to make it, and I know that I hear it's one of the top venues in the country. So anyone who's thinking about it, make sure to go down to
It
Atlanta
really
United
is.
game.
I've taken some coworkers who really don't really care about soccer, and I throw them in extra jerseys. And one of them, we walked in, and he's just like, his jaw dropped open. He was like a little kid in a candy store just from the moment he walked into that stadium. Just even before the match starts, it's something else.
That's amazing. All right,
Yeah.
Cheryl. Thank you again, and we will see you on the pitch. What a great interview. It's so fun to hear these stories about the creation of these amazing artworks that are only up for a few minutes to be shared with fans and players and then taken down, and to hear about the community that grows around these teams. So thanks for joining us this week. Maria will be off in Scandinavia again next week, but I will see you here. Make sure to check out our website, thefootymuseum.com, and follow us on social at The Footy Museum. Until then, goodbye.